For today's revision, we're going to be focusing on fractions, decimals and percentages. So question 1 is some fractions, percentage and decimals that we should really know the conversions for already. So you just have to fill in the missing spaces. If you don't know any of these, then to get from a fraction to a decimal and to a percentage, you do the following. So if you want to get a fraction to be a decimal, you do the top of the fraction divided by the bottom of the fraction. So if you don't know what 1/5 is as a percentage or decimal, type in your calculator 1 divided by 5 and that will get it to you as a decimal. And if you want that decimal to be a percentage, all you have to do is times it by 100. If you're trying to go back the opposite way, then you do the opposite things. So that would be, it's percentage to decimal, you divide by 100. And then if you want a decimal to be a fraction, that's a little bit harder. You tend to, if you've got that as a percentage, so this one, you want it as a percentage, so you've got as a percentage, you want it as a fraction, and this one. 25 is a fraction, you should already know that. If not, you can write it as a fraction over 100, because percent means per 100. And then simplify it down. And same with this one here, but hopefully we'll know what this one is. If you're not sure, think about thirds. Okay, and see if that helps you. So it's to do with thirds. Question 2, another table of fractions we should really know. Again, if you're not sure, you can use our methods that I put over here to work out missing ones. For 9/2, you'll notice that the top of the fraction, the numerator, is greater than the bottom, the denominator. So this one here, the percentage is going to be over 100% because it's a top heavy fraction. Okay, so when you get your percentage, you might think that's not possible, you can't have more than 100%, but you can. Okay, so this one's going to be over 100% when you fill it in. For question 3, we need to write these values in order, starting with the smallest. So they've already told us that 1/20 is the smallest one here. Now, A, B and C are a bit difficult to compare because one's a decimal, one's a fraction and one's a percentage. So what you want to do is you want to put them all into the same format so you can compare them easy enough. So for example, you could times A by 100 to quickly get it as a percentage. And then for B, you could use our method shown at the top. So fractions, you could do top divided by bottom. That would get it to use a decimal, and then you could times it by 100 to get it to be a percentage. And then you can put them in order. It's going to be the same on question 4. Over here, you want to get them all into the same format. So it doesn't matter which format, you just want them all to be the same so you can compare. And what we're trying to compare to is 0.6. Equivalent just means equal to or the same as. So anything which is the same as 0.6. Okay? So for your fractions, you might want to do top divide by bottom and see if you get 0.6 on your calculator. So you can do that for A, C and E. And then for our percentage ones, to get a percentage to be a decimal, again, look up here at the top. you divide by 100. So you can do that for B. Divide 6 by 100 and divide 60 by 100 and see if you get 0.6 for either of those. For question 5, we want 3 values which are greater than a half. So you might just know this, you might look at them and know what a half is, and be able to pick out the ones which are bigger than that. If you're not sure, the only ones I think you may not be sure on maybe, for the fractions you could do a little draw a circle and draw them. So for example, that would be 3/4 there. And then you can decide if that looks like more than a half or not. For the decimals, a half is 0.5 or 0.50 or 0.500. You can have endless zeros on here basically, but it should have a 5 at the beginning, and then depending if you're comparing to 2 decimal places like here, you'd be comparing to 50. Here for F, you'd be comparing to 500. For question 6, we want these to go in order starting with the smallest. First one's been done, so we've got a half, that's the first one. And it's very similar to question 6, you're comparing these to a half and putting them into order. So you need to be able to, if you're can't tell, then try and get them into the same format so you can compare them. For question 7, there's 96 coins in a bottle. Half of them are £1 coins. So start by working out half of 96. The rest are 50p coins. Well, if half of 96 are £1 coins, then the other half is 50 pence. So there's the same amount of 50p's as there are pounds. So all you need to do is half 96, because half of them are pound coins and half of them are 50p coins. Once you've done that, you can work out the value. So you're going to have your number of pounds, and you're going to have your number of 50p's. So the value of this, well, each of these is worth £1, so that's easy. And here, 2 of them is worth £1, okay? So you need 2 50p's to make £1 each time here. So then work out how much money you'll have altogether. Question 8, you're being asked to work out fractions of different numbers. So if you want to work out the fraction of something, what you do is you divide by the bottom, or denominator, and you times by the top. So for example, if I wanted to know 4/5 of 30, then what I've got is 30 being split into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, which is why I have to divide it by 5. So I know 30 divided by 5 is 6. We want 4 of those pieces, so we don't need that one there. So you can just add up those 4 pieces, so 4 lots of 6. So you divide by the bottom and times by the top each time. Now sometimes they use a times sign instead of the word of, but it still works the same way. So on this page, we want to find, we've been told that 1/3 of a number is 12. So if you imagine, we've got our mystery number, and when it's split down into thirds, so 3 equal pieces, one of those thirds is 12. You can easily work out what the whole number is by filling in those missing thirds. So if 1/3 is 12, the other two must be 12 as well. So then you can get your total. Okay, so work out what the total must be. And then I want us to work out what 1/2 of that is. So you just need to take that total and half it, or divide it by 2. Question 10 is really similar. If we've got 3/5 of a number is 21. So again, we've had a number and it's been split into 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3 of those fifths adds to 21. So we think, well, 3 times what is 21? And we can fill that in there. You can fill in the rest because all the fifths have to be the same, so they must all be that. And now you can work out what the whole number must be. For question 11, Simon has made 30 cakes. He's going to give 1/5 of the cakes to Sally and 10% of the 30 cakes to Jane. What fraction does he have left? So you're going to start off, you're going to lay it out really clearly. You're going to start by working out 1/5 of 30. So divide it by 5, write it down. And then you're going to work out 10% of 30. Now to work out 10% of something, all you do is divide by 10. Okay, so 10% of anything is really easy. All you do is divide by 10. So you can work that out, write it down, and then you can subtract those two answers off of 30, and whatever you've got left, that's going to be your answer out of the 30 cakes that he made. So then once he's got left to keep at home or to eat himself. For question 12, we've been told 5% of a number is 23. 1% of the same number is 4.6. Work out 16% of the number. So 5% is 23. Well, what if we had 3 lots of that 5%? Because I know that 3 lots of 5 is 15. So if I had 3 of them, plus the 1%, 15, question 13, they've shown us how we could work out what 17.5% of a number would be. So they've told us that we can do it in little chunks. That we can start off by working out 10%, which we know is worked out by dividing by 10. 5%, which is just half of 10%. And then 2.5, which is just half of 5%. So if you know 10%, you can easily get 5% by halving it. And if you want 2.5%, you're just half your 5%. And then you can add those all together. So you're going to do the same thing for 360. So lay it out just like they've done it here to get your answer. Question 14. Carol buys a house for £234,900. She pays 10% deposit. Work out the amount of deposit. So all it's asking is 10% of her house price. And remember, we find 10% by dividing by 10. For question 15, we're finding 20%. So to find 20%, what you do is you find 10% and you double it. Okay, so you're going to find 10% and you're going to times it by 2. For B, you want 15%, so you're going to find 10%. Then you're going to half it to get 5%. And then you're going to add your answers together. For 85%, you're going to find 10%. And then you're going to times it by 8, because we need 80. You're going to find 5%, so remember just by halving your 10%. And then you're going to add those together. And the last one, 400 people are asked if they drink tea. 7/10 say yes, and 20% of the people who say yes drink at least 3 cups a day. Complete the tree. So we've been told 7/10 say yes, so 7/10 say yes, so that means that 3/10 must say no. So what you need to do is you need to work out 1/10 of 400, so you need to divide it by 10 and then times it by 7 and write your answer in there. For the bottom bit here, you can either take that 1/10 and triple it and write it in, or you could subtract your 7/10 answer, so this answer, off of 400, and that will tell you the answer for no here. Of the people who say yes, 20% of those, so you need to work out 20% of these. So you're going to do 10%, and then you're going to double it to get 20%, and that will tell you this answer here. Okay, and you can work out the no's by just subtracting your yeses off the number you started with here. For B, it says what fraction of the 400 people drink at least 3 cups of coffee each day? So what it's actually asking you for is this one here, okay? Tells you this section here is the at least 3 cups of coffee a day, of tea a day. So it's going to be that blue answer out of the 400 people. So it's going to be this one here. But it says to give your answer in its simplest form, so you then need to simplify that fraction down. And that's it.